On June 2, 2019, Cynthia Hoffman left home like any other teenager to spend a day with her friends. Her father, Timothy Hoffman, assumed she was going to the movies, maybe the mall, but as the day wore on, he started to get worried for his daughter who had not called him and was not picking up his calls. Timothy said he kept calling and texting Cynthia, telling her that no matter what had happened, even if she had done something wrong, he would never be mad at her.
In the Hoffman family, the kids check in often and on time.
In this family, you all have bones. When Dad calls, you answer. I don't care if you're in church and the holy pastor's preaching. I don't care if you're at school taking the high school diploma test. If Dad calls, you answer. I floored it all over town doing speed limits that I shouldn't have been doing, looking for my kid.
One of the last people to see Cynthia was her friend Angela, who told Cynthia's father she dropped her off here at a nearby park.
By 11:30 p.m., he felt in his heart that something was wrong because he knew it was unlike Cynthia to not respond to his calls. Desperate, he reached out to the police, who initially told him he would have to wait 24 hours to file a missing person report. So he called back after 12 hours and urged them to start the search. Eventually, the Anchorage police got involved, but Timothy could not bring himself to just sit and wait. He took his motorcycle and began searching the town and nearby woods, hoping to find any trace of his daughter. While he was out searching, he got a text message from a very concerned Denali Bramer, Cynthia's closest friend, who she had met at school and had quickly formed a bond with. Timothy remembered how Cynthia would often ask if she could go hang out with Denali, staying the night at her place, or spend time with her and her family. Denali had reached out saying she hoped Cynthia was all right, and that nothing bad had happened to her, genuinely seeming concerned. Then, on June 4th, 2 days after Cynthia had gone missing, the police found her body near the bank of the Ekletna River. The search was over, but what followed was even harder to accept. She was discovered in a creek near Thunderbird Falls in Eagle River, on the outskirts of Anchorage. She was fatally shot, and her hands and feet were bound with duct tape, which had also been wrapped around her head, covering her mouth. Was it just a missed call, or a warning sign that came too late? How could someone so close, someone trusted, be the very reason a daughter never came home?
Alexis police found the body of 19-year-old Cynthia Hoffman last night near Thunderbird Falls. She was bound, shot, and placed in a river.
So for her to not call was a big red flag that something terrible had happened, because she would have called. And Tim and I were talking, and he says, I know something bad has happened. I know she's dead. He can feel it in his bones. It's just such a waste of a life. She's a kid.
Cynthia's body was located Tuesday evening in the river near Thunderbird Falls.
We're still investigating to find out exactly why she was bound and then why she ultimately was shot.
Despite facing challenges due to a developmental disability that left her intellectually operating at the level of a 7th grader, she remained motivated to pursue her goals. She suffered a lot academically, but worked hard, even changing schools when necessary, and ultimately graduated from high school in 2018. After graduation, Cynthia joined her father's business, Hoffman Handyman and Repair, where she became his right-hand man. She learned the trade quickly and proved to be more capable than many seasoned workers. Her father, Timothy, noted that she would do anything to make him happy and took pride in her work. Cynthia had aspirations beyond her work as she was working towards obtaining her driver's permit and eventually her driver's license. Her ultimate goal was to own her father's 2002 Ford Focus, a car she admired for its leather seats and boombox in the trunk. Timothy had promised her the car once she achieved her goal, and she was close to attaining it. Throughout her life, Cynthia was known for her kindness and loyalty. She valued her friendships deeply and was always willing to help others. However, her trusting nature made her vulnerable to those who did not have her best interests at heart. Her tragic death was a profound loss to her family and community, who remember her as a vibrant and loving individual. How could a girl with so much love fall victim to such calculated cruelty? What does it say about our world when innocence and trust are met with betrayal?
The only thing I can imagine is she was yelling her daddy's name. And it goes through my head over and over and over again.
As the search for Cynthia's murderer began, Denali Bramer was the main suspect because she was the last person spotted with Cynthia. Police needed a research warrant for Denali's phone, and once they got it, was over for her. According to a bail memorandum filed by the state of Alaska, Denali devised the plan to kill Cynthia after believing that a man she had met online, whom she thought to be a wealthy man, would pay her a large sum of money for recording and executing a murder. Going by the name Angel, Bramer believed she was romantically involved with someone named Tyler from Kansas. However, it turned out that the guy was catfishing Denali, and investigators later identified Tyler as Darren Schillmiller, a 21-year-old man from New Salisbury, Indiana. Several weeks before Cynthia's death, the two had reportedly started discussing a plan to sexually assault and murder someone in Alaska. While posing as Tyler, Darren allegedly promised Denali at least $9 million to carry out the killing. Motivated by this offer, Denali took help from 4 others, 19-year-old Caleb Leyland, 16-year-old Caden McIntosh, and 2 additional minors. The group selected Cynthia, Denali's supposed best friend, as their target. Prosecutors said that they not only coordinated the details of the killing, but also agreed on how they would divide the promised money. On June 2, 2019, Denali and McIntosh picked up Cynthia under the pretense of taking her on a hiking trip to Thunderbird Falls. They led her along the Eklutna River and stopped at a secluded area. Since Denali and McIntosh were the last 2 people to ever see Cynthia alive, they were the main suspects at hand. McIntosh told the detectives that they were hanging out with Cynthia in the woods when the 3 of them agreed to duct tape each other and take photographs. However, when Cynthia had her wrists, mouth, and feet bound with duct tape, she started to panic. This led to them removing her tape, and she told them she was going to call the police to report that they had kidnapped her and sexually assaulted her. Suddenly feeling threatened, McIntosh grabbed the 9mm gun that Denali had in her hand and shot Cynthia in the back of the head.
A teenager in Anchorage, Alaska has been charged with killing her best friend. Police say the murder plot began online with a promise of a multi-million-dollar payday.
Denali told police that she saw Cynthia twitching before McIntosh pushed her body into the creek. But in the new interview with Court TV, Denali said the shooting happened very suddenly because they had panicked when Cynthia threatened to call the police, despite not having her phone with her because McIntosh had already taken it. According to court documents, Denali stayed in contact with Darren during the murder, sending him photos and videos of what was happening. After the killing, they left Cynthia's body near the river and burned some of her belongings, including her clothes, phone, and purse. To cover her tracks, Denali then messaged Cynthia's father, claiming she had dropped her off at Polar Bear Park. Cynthia's father later recalled that he still believed Denali at the time, noting that she had been Cynthia's closest friend. Initially, Denali told investigators that she, McIntosh, and Cynthia had gone to Thunderbird Falls simply to take staged photos while wrapped in duct tape. She denied knowing that McIntosh intended to harm Cynthia. However, when law enforcement secured a search warrant for her phone, they discovered explicit content involving minors in plain sight. A follow-up warrant revealed that these illicit materials were part of conversations between Denali and the individual she identified as Tyler. She confessed that he had instructed her to sexually assault 2 underage victims, one estimated to be around 8 or 9 years old, and the other around 15, and that she had filmed the assaults at his request. In one exchange, Denali messaged Darren in her phone under the name Babe to inform him she planned to purchase weed first so that one of the victims would be high and less likely to resist.
It scares me to think someone was living down the road with those kind of intentions. It gives me chills up my spine. That's scary.
People who live in this quiet Harrison County neighborhood say if the accusations are true, they're glad Schillmiller is in custody.
That's shocking.
After the murder, Denali's older sisters, Rebecca and Brenna, also came forward and discussed their family's troubled past, suggesting that early childhood trauma may have influenced Denali's later actions. They recalled a history of abuse and instability, noting that all 5 siblings were removed from their mother's care at different times. A particularly tragic event was the murder of their 2-month-old sister, Gabrielle, who was killed by a man living with their mother at the time. Despite all the siblings having difficult lives, Denali seemed to have taken the worst of the influence and is now facing the consequences of her actions. What happens when deep-seated trauma goes untreated for too long? Can a victim of manipulation still be held fully accountable when the choices made are so horrifying? Darren Schillmiller was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison and a lifetime on supervised release for his role in a conspiracy to produce child sexual abuse materials. In July 2023, both Darren and Denali pleaded guilty in United States District Court to the production of child pornography. Denali received the same sentence, 30 years in prison and the rest of her life on supervised release. In addition to the federal charges, both were also sentenced to 99 years in state prison by the state of Alaska for their roles in Cynthia's murder. During sentencing, United States District Court Judge Ralph Beistlein emphasized the importance of public safety. He described Darren's actions as predatory, perverted, and sophisticated. The judge stated, "I can't think of anything worse than what I've seen here." United States Attorney Lane Tucker for the District of Alaska said the sentence marked the conclusion of a years-long effort to hold the defendants accountable. She thanked the FBI, the Anchorage Police Department, and the Alaska Department of Law for their work in protecting children and prosecuting the homicide. She reiterated her commitment to keeping the state safe and ensuring justice. Special Agent in Charge Rebecca Day stated that Darren Schillmiller committed some of the darkest crimes imaginable and caused immeasurable harm to the victims and their families. She noted that the sentencing reflected the tireless efforts of investigators and prosecutors to ensure that none of Schillmiller's sadistic crimes went unpunished. Anchorage Police Chief Sean Case called the crime heinous and said it had a lifelong impact on the victim's family and the community. The FBI and the Anchorage Police Department investigated the case as part of the FBI's Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force. Cynthia Hoffman's family was devastated by her tragic death in 2019. Her father, Timothy, expressed deep sorrow, stating that Cynthia trusted the people who ultimately betrayed her. He described her as an innocent and sweet person who was always trying to make him proud. Cynthia had been studying in a post-high school life skills program and working in construction for her father's company. Timothy became a steadfast advocate for justice in his daughter's case, attending every court hearing and often seen with his support dog, Diego. He pushed for maximum sentences for those involved in Cynthia's murder, emphasizing the pain and devastation the crime had caused his family.
I've been waiting for a long time, and I'm ready. It's going to be a bunch of rounds from now until it's over, but I won't miss one. But I have to hold back my emotions to show no emotions to support my family. At this time, I do not care about his. I'm out for one thing and one thing only, and that's justice. And that's to make them rot in jail where all them people could send them to hell. I'm going for the full 99 years.
On June 2nd, 2024, exactly 5 years after Cynthia's death, Timothy Hoffman died in a motorcycle accident during a memorial ride honoring his daughter. He lost control of his motorcycle near mile 49 of the Parks Highway in Alaska and was pronounced dead at a local hospital. His wife, Barbara Hoffman, who was riding with him, survived but sustained serious injuries and was hospitalized. The memorial ride had become an annual tradition for the Hoffman family, serving as a way to remember Cynthia and seek closure. His sudden death during the ride added another layer of pain to the family's ongoing grief. Was Denali Bramer a cold-hearted killer, or a broken girl shaped by years of trauma, loneliness, and manipulation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you are new to the channel and enjoy this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for upcoming episodes. Your support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, I will see you on Urban Crime Stories.